Are you looking for stories about resilience that inspire you? Do you enjoy it when justice finds its way, even if it's through the shortcuts of revenge? And do you love being caught off guard by the twists and turns of life? If the answer is yes, this is your channel. Unravel each story with us, a labyrinth of emotions that will keep you intrigued until the very last second. Be part of this community. Subscribe, click the bell to be notified, leave your appreciation with a like, and come, because today's story holds emotions in store for you that you never imagined. The afternoon sun in Diadema cast long shadows over the buildings, painting the sky with shades of orange and purple. Anna, in her early 20s and with a unique sparkle in her eyes, watched the movement on the street from the window of her small apartment. Her fingers drummed anxiously on the windowsill, a reflection of the butterfly fluttering in her stomach. Today was the day that Tiago, her boyfriend of 3 years, would return from a work trip that had seemed like an eternity. Every message exchanged during his absence had fueled the flame of a future that she had idealized with care and affection. A future of joint plans, of shared laughter, perhaps even the search for a bigger home in that neighborhood she loved so much. She remembered their last hug, the lingering kiss at the airport, the promise that she would bring a special gift. An involuntary smile curved her lips. That gift, she secretly hoped, would come in a small velvet box. The ringing of her cell phone startled her. It was Tiago. Anxiety intensified, mixed with a hint of apprehension that she tried to ignore. His voice on the other end of the line sounded distant, almost hesitant. The conversation flowed strangely, full of uncomfortable pauses and incomplete sentences. Anna felt a lump forming in her throat with each hesitant word Tiago said. He spoke about the trip, about his commitments, but avoided the affectionate tone and references to the future that were so common in their conversations. The butterflies in Anna's stomach turned into an uncomfortable weight. She tried to dispel the feeling, attributing it to tiredness from the trip or nervousness about the reunion. But there was something else, a dissonant note that her intuition clearly picked up on. He mentioned a co-worker, a certain Camilla, with unusual frequency, describing her intelligence and sense of humor with an enthusiasm that Anna had never heard dedicated to another woman. A cold and sharp pang of jealousy pierced her chest. She tried to change the subject, talk about her own days, how much she missed him, but Tiago's voice remained distant, as if his mind was somewhere else, focused on someone else. The weight in Anna's throat intensified, making it harder to breathe. The end of the call left a deafening silence in the small apartment. The image of Tiago, smiling and hugging her at the airport, now seemed like a distant memory, almost unreal. The constant mention of Camilla echoed in her mind like a dark omen. Anna tried to convince herself that she was exaggerating, that insecurity was blinding her. But the coldness in Tiago's voice, the lack of interest in her stories, everything pointed in a painful direction. She walked to the window, watching the city lights turn on, a myriad of bright spots that seemed to mock her growing sadness. Tears began to well up, silently at first, streaming down her face, without her even trying to hold them back. Disappointment hit her like a physical blow, knocking the air from her lungs. 3 years of plans, of shared dreams, seemed to crumble before her eyes. The small velvety box she had imagined faded away, replaced by a cold, cutting emptiness. The days that followed that phone call were a blur of pain and confusion for Anna. Tiago returned, but the man who got off the plane was not the same one who had kissed her goodbye. There was a cold distance in his gaze, a hesitation in his touches. He avoided eye contact, his answers were monosyllabic, and the silence between them became increasingly heavy, loaded with unspoken words and repressed feelings. Anna tried desperately to rekindle the flame, to remember the happy times, the plans they had made together. She prepared his favorite dishes, played the music that had soothed them at the beginning of their relationship, but everything seemed in vain. Tiago remained distant, absorbed in his own thoughts, oblivious to Anna's silent suffering. His presence in the house had become a constant reminder of the change, of the loss of the intimacy that had once united them. The apartment, once a nest of love and complicity, now seemed small and suffocating, echoing the loneliness that had settled in Anna's heart. The truth, painful as it was, began to take shape clearly in Anna's mind. Tiago's evasions, the different sparkle in his eyes when he mentioned Camilla, the secret messages on his cell phone that he hid so carefully. Everything fit into a cruel and inevitable pattern. The betrayal, the possibility of being replaced, was an open wound that bled incessantly. Anna felt helpless, lost in a sea of doubts and insecurities. She revisited every moment of the relationship, looking for signs that she might have ignored, trying to understand where everything had started to fall apart. The nights were long and sleepless, filled with bittersweet memories and the anguish of an uncertain future. The trust that she had placed in Tiago with body and soul was shattered into 1,000 pieces, leaving in its place a piercing pain and a deep feeling of emptiness. The confrontation was inevitable, a tense and painful encounter that sealed the end of the relationship. Anna, with her heart in pieces but with surprising determination, demanded the truth. Tiago, cornered and visibly uncomfortable, confessed. Camila, the co-worker he had praised so much, had become more than that. A new relationship had blossomed during the trip, fueled by the distance and the apparent fragility of the bond he shared with Anna. Tiago's words were like stabs, each syllable deepening the wound of betrayal. Anna's pain was palpable, a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. 3 years of love and dedication were thrown away by a fleeting fling. The apartment, the scene of so many happy moments, was now the scene of a bitter and definitive farewell. Anna felt the world collapsing around her, but amidst the piercing pain, a small spark of resilience began to shine within her. The first few months after the separation were a dark time for Anna. The pain of loss mixed with the humiliation of betrayal, creating a whirlwind of negative emotions that consumed her. The apartment felt empty and silent, each object bringing back painful memories. The routines she shared with Tiago had fallen apart, leaving a huge void in her daily life. She isolated herself, avoiding contact with friends and family, immersed in her own sadness. Tears were a constant companion, and the feeling that she would never be happy again haunted her. Her faith in love and relationships had been deeply shaken. Anna questioned her own choices, blamed herself for not having noticed the signs, wondered what was wrong with her, that she had not been enough. The shadow of disappointment hung over every aspect of her life, obscuring any glimmer of hope. Yet even in the midst of the darkness, a small inner voice began to whisper. A voice that reminded Anna of her strength, her independence, the incredible woman she had always been before Tiago came into her life. Slowly, hesitantly, she began to take small steps toward recovery. First, she allowed her friends to come closer, accepting their hugs and words of support. Then she forced herself to leave the house, to walk around the neighborhood she loved so much, rediscovering the beauty in the little things around her. She reconnected with old hobbies that she had neglected during the relationship, finding comfort in painting and reading. Each small victory was celebrated in silence, a brick being placed in the rebuilding of her self-esteem. The process was slow and painful, marked by setbacks and moments of deep sadness. But the seed of overcoming had been planted. Little by little, Anna began to reframe the painful experience she had lived through. The disappointment in love, although it still hurt, began to be seen not as an end, but as a new beginning. She realized that she had lost herself a little within the relationship, that she had put Tiago's needs and desires above her own. The betrayal, as cruel as it had been, had freed her from a dynamic that might not have been healthy in the long run. Anna began to look at herself in the mirror with more kindness, to recognize her intrinsic value, independent of any romantic relationship. She invested in herself, in her studies, in her career, discovering new passions and talents. The loneliness that had previously scared her began to transform into a space of self-knowledge and freedom. Time, relentless in its passage, acted as a balm for Anna's wounds. Memories of Tiago no longer haunted her with the same intensity. She could think about the past without feeling the piercing pain that had previously paralyzed her. Forgiveness, not for Tiago, but for herself, for having allowed herself to suffer so much, began to blossom in her heart. Anna learned to recognize the warning signs in relationships, to value her intuition, and to prioritize her emotional well-being. She became more selective about who she allowed into her life, seeking genuine connections based on mutual respect. The scar from her heartbreak would remain, but now as a reminder of her strength and her ability to overcome. Anna's life blossomed in ways she never imagined. Free from the weight of a suffocating relationship, she devoted herself body and soul to her personal and professional projects. Her passion for art, which had been put aside, resurfaced with full force, culminating in a small exhibition of her paintings at a local gallery. The success was modest, but the validation of her talent brought her immense joy. She also dedicated herself to social causes, finding a greater purpose in helping others. The energy that had previously been drained by insecurity and sadness was now channeled into activities that brought her satisfaction and a deep sense of accomplishment. Anna rediscovered herself as a strong, independent and talented woman, capable of building a full and happy life on her own. On a beautiful sunny Saturday in Diadema, while having coffee at a charming bakery near her home, Anna met up with an old college friend, Lucas. Time had been kind to him, and the conversation flowed naturally and lightly. They shared laughs, memories of the past, and plans for the future. There was a genuine connection between them, an affinity that went beyond friendship. Lucas admired Anna's strength and resilience, the way she had transformed pain into growth. He didn't see her as a victim of the past, but as an inspiring and admirable woman. Anna, in turn, felt comfortable and safe in Lucas's company. He didn't rush her, he didn't pressure her. He just appreciated her presence and the beauty of her soul. The relationship between Anna and Lucas developed gradually and naturally, built on a solid foundation of friendship and mutual respect. There was none of the overwhelming intensity of their previous relationship, but rather a comforting calm, a knowledge that they both valued and supported each other unconditionally. Lucas admired Anna's intelligence, her sharp sense of humor, and her passion for life. He encouraged her in her projects, celebrated her achievements, and offered her a friendly shoulder to cry on in difficult times. Anna, in turn, found in Lucas the security and stability she so longed for. He loved her for who she was, with her scars and her achievements, without trying to mold or control her. Little by little, the fear of giving in to a new love dissipated, replaced by renewed hope. A year after that chance meeting at the bakery, Anna found herself walking hand in hand with Lucas along a beach near São Paulo. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the sky with vibrant colors, a reflection of the joy that filled her heart. She looked at Lucas, at the gentle smile on his lips, and felt a deep gratitude for the journey that had brought her to that moment. The disappointment in love that had once made her believe that she would never be happy again was now a distant memory, a painful but overcome chapter in her story. She had learned valuable lessons about herself, about love, and about the importance of prioritizing herself. The scars remained, but they no longer hurt. They were proof of her resilience, of her ability to get back on her feet and find happiness again. Anna smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her eyes. She knew that the future held its own challenges, but now she felt prepared to face them, strong and confident in her own abilities. With Lucas by her side, she envisioned a future of companionship, respect, and true love. The comeback had not been easy, but the journey had transformed her into a stronger, wiser, and more passionate woman. In Diadema, where her story of pain had begun, a new chapter of happiness and hope was now blossoming. The butterfly in her stomach had returned, but this time, it was a butterfly of joy, of anticipation of a bright future full of possibilities. Life, with its unexpected twists and turns, had taught her that even after the deepest disappointment, love and happiness can always blossom again.